What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do a controller replacement on the King Goat. The King Goats have been having some issues with their control modules, but luckily on the newer models, the new orders that you guys place orders on, those have been updated. This is for only people who have already purchased the bike. We've sent everyone out a new controller and we're going to show you right now how to install it. So in the package we have our two control modules. This is the bigger one that's going to go down by the motor. And then we have a small one which it goes right down under the seat area. So our first step is we're going to take a long 5mm Allen key if you have one and undo these two rear bolts right under the seat. They can be a little tricky to get to, but once you got them, it should come out pretty easily. Once you have those two bolts out, we're going to take our 4mm and undo these two top bolts and the seat will pop right off.
12 days later.
All right, now that we have this seat taken off, we can see that we have our old controller stuck to the bottom of this little container in here. So what we're going to do is take some scissors, just cut the zip ties out. Do not cut any of the wiring. We're going to cut out some of the zip ties. And unplug. This is only for a few components like the brake light, maybe the throttle. Out with the old and in with the new. Let's go ahead and install this one. First, we're going to match up all the plugs. Make sure that the arrows are lining up. Green to green, blue to blue, and black to black. And then once we have those all connected, there is a little 3M sticky piece down here. We're just gonna go ahead and push this down here and stick it to the frame again so it doesn't rattle around while we're riding. Perfect. Now that concludes our installation number one of our first smaller controller. Now we can go ahead and put the seat back on and move on to the bigger control module down by the motor. I recommend when going to refasten the seat, don't tighten down any of the bolts all the way until we have all four started. Once we have all four started, then you can go ahead and tighten them down. All right, for the next step, we're going to be installing this larger control module down below. It's right at around this part right here. So we're going to need to take out the battery, and in order to do that, we're going to need to remove this big battery plate that says Go Power Bikes on it. Take that off, unscrew a couple bolts, and then we should be able to access the old controller. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to be using a 13/16 wrench size on my socket. Just be very careful, especially when refastening these. They are very fragile and they will break very easily, so just be very gentle. I usually just break them loose and then I can do the rest by hand. All right, now that we have the battery plate taken off, we're going to remove the battery itself. Now that we have the battery removed, it looks like there are a few bolts down here that require a number 4. So let's go ahead and loosen those. It looks like there are 2 little nuts holding it in, maybe 3 up here and up down here. So let's go ahead and loosen those. Let me check to see what size they are. All right, we're gonna take off the bolts on this side as well, just to take this plate off and access it from this side as well. So let's do that real quick. Using a crescent wrench, we're gonna have to use one of those to access this one right here. All we have to do is just break it loose though. And once we have it broken loose, we can undo it by hand. It looks like from this side, when we look at it from the other side, the controller is being mounted from this bolt right here and this bolt right here. So let's go ahead and undo those. All right, now that we have the plate taken off and the bolts holding the controller onto the bike taken off, we can go ahead, get our new controller, line everything up and see how we're going to plug stuff in. The way I unfastened the controller from the frame was I used a long socket with a 5/16 bolt head, and I loosened it from the back with my number 4 Allen key. Let's go ahead, cut off the zip ties and go ahead and loosen up each of these And if you have a Phillips head screwdriver, you can use that, but I would recommend using a socket, so we'll use a socket. Nope, it's going to be the same socket head that we used before. It's going to be a 5/16. At least break them loose first with the socket. We don't want to strip any of the bolt heads. All right, let's see this. All right, out with the old and in with the new again. So for this new one, it looks like for these wires right here, we're going to be using different plugs. It's not the exact same plugs as before. It looks like we're gonna have to unplug this one, and maybe one other over here. Should be fairly simple, so let's go ahead and do those first. All right, so for this long red plug on the new controller, it feeds through up here, around here, down here, and it's right here. So there's a red plug right here. Let's go ahead and cut that zip tie, and we'll just feed it through the new one just like this one. Just feed it up along here so it's hidden inside the frame, but should not be very difficult to route that through. Now guys, this might look pretty intimidating. You have all these loose wires everywhere, but do not worry, everything should match up perfectly. So let's go ahead and match it up one by one. Let's go ahead and start out with this wire harness right here. Let's do the orange to orange first, making sure that the arrows line up. Blue to blue. Then we have this bigger plug. We'll do that to the bigger plug. As it's going together, it should look very simple. There we go. And lastly, this big 6-notch. Boom. Now, let's just refeed this long red one back through here. I'm gonna do it behind these big motor wires. Right, I'm gonna pick through it from the shock, from a little opening in the shock. And now it's right here, you see. We're just gonna plug that in. And we will zip tie it all up once it's installed. The positive and negative terminal for this new controller, they're on separate ends of the controller. As you can see, right here we have the negative and the positive. So we might have to stretch these a little bit more. You might not have to, but if needed, all you need to do is just cut a few of the zip ties for the battery plug and just feed them through. So let's go ahead. And I think it's going to be easiest if we actually fasten the controller to the bike first, and then we can just go ahead and easily pop each of these on here. Get those nuts started onto the bolt by hand, and then we can go at it with our socket. Before we connect the positive and negative, I'm going to connect all the other ones first, just so that we don't possibly get any shorts. So let's go in order. I'm gonna go black, green, yellow, and blue. It's very unlikely to get a short due to the battery being unplugged, but it's not impossible. Sometimes the controllers come with a little bit of power in them, and we don't want to risk it. All right, and last but not least, let's do the positive terminal. All right, there we go. Now the controller is fully assembled, plugged in, and installed. So let's go ahead. We're going to put a dust cover over this, and then we'll put the plates back on, and then we'll reassemble the whole thing. All right, guys, we got this cover plate installed. We reinstalled this back plate just with these simple little bolts. And all I had to do is just refasten the battery wire up top here. The set came with plenty of zip ties, so it was pretty easy. And we just have it tucked in going back here. All we have to do now is pick up this battery, try to wiggle it in there. Once it's in there, we can put the plate back on and we're all set to test it. All right, guys, now we got the battery plate back installed. We got the battery in there, the new controllers installed up here and down here. Now, we're not fully done yet, so let's go ahead and turn the bike on, and we're gonna have to do a software update with the new controller, because with the new controller, the throttle is not going to respond because it's not recognizing it. So what we're gonna need to do is go into our settings. We will enter our settings by holding the plus and minus, general, come down here, all the way to Bluetooth. And we are already connected via Bluetooth, but if you're not already connected, there should be a QR code that you will scan. You will need the GOAT app, and then we can do a software update through there. Once we check for the new upgrade, we can click download, update. It looks like the bike received it, and there it goes. Now it's updating. All right, now it looks like it is all reset, but we're gonna turn it off and then turn it back on anyways. All right, now that we have the update installed onto the bike, we're going to turn the bike on again. And to test it, we're just going to put our kickstand up, +1, and make sure you're on the bike safely, and we can test it. Ours is working great. Now, for some reason, if your throttle is still not working, do not worry. All you'll need to do is do a factory reset in the settings. You'll go to settings, and there should be a factory reset option. If not, let us know. Feel free to DM me on Instagram, and I'm happy to help you guys out.